Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome to the last lesson of the chapter. We are on chapter 7.6, and you're looking at something that is extremely familiar to you all from chapter 2. Remember when we were dealing with dilations, we applied scale factors. So now today you're going to appreciate, I learned this back in chapter 2. It's a little bit of a refresher, and it's just going to make your math so much easier. So first of all, just remember that in area, whenever we apply a scale factor, we go back to chapter 2. What did we do with the area? We multiplied it to the scale factor, because remember, the rule was that scale factors get only applied through multiplication. And since we're talking about area, that scale factor has to be squared. When we're talking about volume, we're going to take volume, we're going to multiply to the scale factor, but make sure you cube the scale factor before you apply it. So this lesson is going to be extremely easy. It's going to go by quick, and you're going to appreciate that we already learned this. So here are our real world applications. So real world changes in dimensions. So what happens to volume, what happens to surface area, what happens to area whenever we apply a scale factor? Although we learned it, let's apply it and refresh our memory again. So let's say that you have a rectangular prism, okay? The rectangular prism, what we know is that the surface area is 90 inches squared. Now the question is, what is the surface area of a similar prism? Remember, similar means it did not change shape, it just changed size, if a scale factor of 5 is applied. So we are talking about area, and we know that we have to use a scale factor squared. So remember that area is multiplied to scale factor, and then that scale factor gets squared. So in this case, our area was 90. Our scale factor is 5, and then we have to square it. And all you have to do basically is just use your calculator, and in this case, you know what 5 squared is? 90 times 25, and then go ahead and take your calculator now. 90 times 25 is 2250. So don't forget, your monkeys or birds, we're talking about inches squared. So when you apply a scale factor of 5 to the original prism, the new surface area is going to be 2,250 inches squared. Now that was easy, right? All right. What if a scale factor of half is applied? Let's not forget how fractions work. Again, we're still talking about area, and it's going to be scale factor squared. The area has not changed. We're still using the original of 90 inches squared. And our scale factor in this case is half, right? So 1/2 squared. What's 1/2 times 1/2? 1/4. So 90 times 1/4. And then remember that 90, you can consider it over 1. All right? And it would be basically 90 over 4. And then 90 over 4. What is the final answer on that? It's going to be 22.5, and it's going to be, again, inches squared. So this is extremely easy, guys, okay? So don't forget, it does say inches squared at the end. Don't forget that. Now let's go ahead and now apply it to volume. So there you have it. You have a cylindrical thermos. So cylindrical is what? A cylinder, right? So the volume of it is 4,800 inches cubed. What is the volume of a similar thermos if a scale factor of 0.7 is applied? All right. And on that one, the instructions should have told you nearest tenth. So sometimes it might give us an exact to the nearest tenth. Sometimes it might not. You still have to interpret that, okay? So again, we're talking about volume. The original was 4,800 inches cubed. So remember that volume, it's scale factor cubed. The volume here was 4,800. My scale factor is 0.7, and it's going to be cubed. Now go ahead and plug in 0.7 into your calculator, raise it to the third. or just take 0.7 times 0.7 times 0.7, you should get 4,000 times 0.343. I don't know how many of you remember that 7 cubed when we did our cube roots and our cubes, that it's 343. Then after that, all you have to do is go ahead and multiply, apply it in your calculator, and you should get 1,646, and then decimal point value is 0.4, and we are talking about inches cubed, and that is your final answer, okay? Now, the next one, what if a scale factor of 2 is applied? So, same thing, guys, volume times scale factor cubed, the original volume, 4,800, the scale factor is 2, and that's going to be cubed, and then 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then if you go ahead and multiply 4,800 times 8, you should get 38,400 inches cubed. So far it's been easy, right? And that's, for the most part, the majority of your work that you will be doing in this lesson. Now, here is our actually last example, and it's gonna go by quick today, guys. So again, still we're dealing with real world changes in dimensions, and it has a triangular prism. It was enlarged by a scale factor of 3. Remember, enlargement is going to increase. So when you get your answer, you might be careful with how it's read, how it's written. But let's see what actually the word problem is asking. If the new prism has a total surface area of 12,600 centimeters squared, so we're talking about area, okay? So we need to make sure that we're talking about surface area, and then what tells us the units, right? What was the total surface area of the original prism? So when we're reading this question, when we're talking about the original prism, you know, that means that it was less than what is the new, right? Because it was enlarged. So they took the original, that was a smaller version, and they applied a scale factor of 3, it was enlarged, and then they told you that the new one is 12,600. So again, we're talking about area, and we talk about scale factor, and since we're talking about scale factor in area, we're going to square it. Now we also know that when this happened, this was the original, this was the scale factor. When they applied that scale factor, the result was 12,600, okay? So now it's easy to do the problem. What was our scale factor? Where's our scale factor? Scale factor is 3, all right? So area, 3 squared is equal to 12,600. Next step, go ahead and apply the square to the 3, right? So area times 9 is 12,600. Now, how do I isolate my area? Remember, we're looking for the area of the original. Between 8 and 9 is multiplication, so opposite of multiplication, division. If I divide both sides by 9, cancels out, and it leaves my area alone on the left-hand side. So the area of the original is 12,600 divided by 9, and if you plug it into the calculator, it's going to give you 1,400. Don't forget, we're talking about surface area, and we're talking about centimeters squared, so don't forget your monkeys and birds. Final answer, area is 1,400 centimeters squared of the original. That's of the original similar triangular prism. So inshallah, you found this lecture very easy and very short and very sweet. So now do your worksheet, and I think within 20 minutes you should be able to finish it. See you in class.